Ever stared at a blinking green light on a router and just thought, okay, where do I even begin? Well, welcome back, Focus Learners. Today, we're diving into a brand new explainer, and we are unpacking an absolute masterclass on networking. Think of this as your day one to production survival guide for Cisco router and switch commands. Whether you're literally unboxing a brand new switch right now, or you're deep in the weeds troubleshooting a complex enterprise network, our goal today is to empower you to log into any Cisco device with absolute, total confidence. We're going to take what is honestly a pretty dense technical reference and transform it into a streamlined, highly actionable playbook.
So, here's our 5-part playbook for today. We'll start with navigating Cisco iOS modes, then move into day one device hardening. After that, we'll hit real-world interface setup, essential network configurations, and finally, we'll wrap up with what I call the golden sequence.
All right, let's dive right into this. Part 1. Navigating Cisco iOS modes. You know, before you can actually configure anything, you really have to understand the environment you're operating in. I like to think of the Cisco command line interface, the CLI, kind of like stepping into a commercial pilot's cockpit for the very first time. There are dials everywhere, screens blinking, and a very strict hierarchy of control. You can't just jump into the seat and start flipping switches, right? You have to know exactly what level of access you currently have. And you can see that visual escalation of privileges right here. When you first log in, you land in user exec mode, which you can spot by that simple greater than bracket. This is basically your read-only mode. You can look out the window, but you are definitely not flying the plane. Now, by typing enable, you escalate yourself up to privilege exec mode, identified by that hashtag. Now you've got full diagnostic access. Finally, type configure terminal, and you step into global configuration mode, marked by the config prompt. This is the big one. This is where you actually have device-wide control to change how the entire network operates.
But to fly this plane safely and, frankly, efficiently, you're going to need your essential instruments. That brings us to these CLI shortcuts. If you ever get stuck, just type a question mark. It's like the iOS literally hands you the flight manual on the spot, showing you all available options. Hitting Tab is going to auto-complete your commands, which saves keystrokes and, trust me, prevents a ton of typos. Show History lets you recall past commands. But my absolute favorite? It's got to be the do command. Say you're deep in configuration mode and you just need to run a quick verification check, like show IP interface brief. Just slap do in front of it. You get your answer instantly without having to back all the way out of your current configuration mode. It is a massive time saver.
Now, what's really interesting about this next phase is securing everything. Let's get into part 2, day 1, device hardening.
Okay, picture this. You've just unboxed a brand new switch. Before it ever even thinks about touching the production network, we absolutely must secure it. And here is the exact chronological sequence to do just that. Step 1. Set your privileged exec password using Enable Secret. Step 2. Run service password encryption. Step 3. Secure your console line. Step 4. Set an auto logout timer so those idle sessions don't just stay open forever. And finally, Step 5. Save the configuration. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is why we do it in this exact order. You must run password encryption before you save the config. Think about it. If you don't, your passwords could end up saved in plain text in the startup config file, which completely defeats the entire purpose of securing the device in the first place.
And this really brings us to a reality that every single network engineer faces at some point. It's the contrast between the triumphant permanence of saving a verified config versus the sheer absolute relief of recovering from a huge mistake. When you make a good change, you use copy running config startup config to lock it in, ensuring it survives a reboot. But what if you make a change that accidentally breaks connectivity? Well, because those changes are only living in the active RAM, you can simply reload the device without saving. The device reboots, pulls that old stable config from its permanent NVRAM storage, and boom, you are saved. It is literally the ultimate undo button.
All right, moving right along. Part 3. Real-world interface setup. Let's bring this device online.
Let's set the scene here. Imagine you're out in the field. You've just physically plugged a cable from a brand new WAN link, provided by your ISP, straight into Gigabit Ethernet 0/0 on your router. The hardware is physically connected, so now it's time to bring that interface to life in the software. So here's your flight path for waking up that WAN link. First, navigate into the interface config mode. Second, and please never skip this, always add a description. Documenting exactly what that cable connects to is going to save your future self or some poor engineer working the night shift hours of headache down the line. Third, assign the IP address and subnet mask. Fourth, and this is absolutely critical, you must run the no shutdown command. Why? Well, on Cisco routers, all physical interfaces are administratively down by default just as a security measure.
You have to explicitly tell them to wake up. And finally, verify your work using Show IP Interface Brief to make sure the link is actually up and running.
But hey, what happens when things go wrong? Let's say a user submits a ticket saying they've lost connectivity. You jump into the CLI and you run that exact same Show IP Interface Brief command. If you spot an interface showing a status of down and a protocol of down, you have instantly isolated the problem. That down/down status points directly to a physical layer issue. It means the router isn't detecting a physical link at all. So you don't need to waste time checking routing protocols yet. You need to check if the cable is unplugged, cut, or if someone just accidentally tripped over the power cord on the exact opposite end of the building.
Which naturally leads us to part 4, Essential Network Configurations.
Okay, so our interfaces are physically up. Now we need to move from the physical layer up to the logical layer. We've got to make sure our local traffic can actually route out to the wider enterprise network. Let's set up some dynamic routing using OSPF, or Open Shortest Path First, which helps our routers automatically figure out the absolute best path for traffic. You enter the OSPF process, advertise your networks, and you can optionally suppress hello packets on user-facing interfaces to keep things efficient. But the absolute most important real-world strategy here is step 2, assigning a manual, stable router ID. You'll often use a loopback address for this, like 1.1.1.1. See, loopback interfaces are virtual. That means they never physically go down as long as the router itself is powered on. By tying your OSPF identity to a loopback, you basically prevent absolute chaos from cascading through your routing tables if a physical interface just happens to flap up and down.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next core concept, PAT, or Port Address Translation. Picture a small branch office. You've got, say, 50 computers on an internal network, like a 192.168.1.0 subnet, but your ISP was stingy and only gave you one single public IP address. PAT steps in and acts as the ultimate traffic cop. By throwing the overload keyword into your NAT configuration, the router dynamically assigns unique port numbers to every single internal session. It's amazing because it allows all 50 of those hosts to seamlessly share that one public IP address to reach the internet. It keeps all the internal traffic perfectly organized and ensures the external traffic is accurately routed right back to the correct computer.
All right, we've made it to the climax of our explainer. Part 5, the golden sequence.
So your device is secured, the interfaces are up, and the network is routing traffic. Beautiful. But what happens when you get dropped into a completely unfamiliar network? Well, these are the 5 absolute non-negotiable commands every IT engineer must run when logging into an unknown device. Command 1 is show version. Before you touch a single thing, you need to uncover the foundational identity of the machine you're looking at. What iOS version is it running? How long has it been up? And critically, what was the last reload reason? Did it reboot gracefully, or did it totally crash due to a power failure? You need to know.
Command 2 keeps the momentum going, show IP interface brief. We just talked about this one. You run this to instantly map out the physical and logical status of all your connections. Literally, in 3 seconds flat, you know exactly what's physically connected, what's been administratively shut down, and what IP addresses are assigned where. It is your ultimate quick-glance dashboard.
On to Command 3, show IP route. Now that you have the physical layout in your head, you need the logical map. This command lets you inspect the routing table. It confirms your paths, verifies that dynamic protocols like OSPF are actually learning routes from neighbors, and ensures there is a default route actively pointing traffic out to the internet.
Command 4, show running config. This right here is where you read the master blueprint. This command dumps out everything the device is currently doing in its active RAM. You're scanning for access control lists, NAT rules, and any weird specific interface tweaks. It tells you exactly how the device is behaving at this very second.
And wrapping up the sequence, Command 5, show log. Guys, never skip this one. A network might look perfectly fine on the surface, but the system log, or syslog, is going to surface any hidden, repeating errors, interfaces that are constantly flapping up and down, or underlying security events. These are things you desperately need to know about before you start making your own changes.
So we've gone from navigating the basic CLI modes and hardening a brand new device, all the way to bringing up physical interfaces and passing logical traffic. You have the blueprint in your hands. So I challenge you, the very next time you use SSH to console into a Cisco switcher router, what are the first 5 things you're going to check? Run that golden sequence. Own this CLI. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.